Smell Talks, a podcast by Ney. The confluences of the olfactory culture. Perfumers, authors, scientists. Ney brings you lectures by experts from all over the world. Fragrance is important in our everyday life. But it has also played an essential role throughout global history, resonating with various cultures and societies worldwide. To discuss this topic, 5 specialists with different perspectives gathered at IFRA's Global Fragrance Summit last December in Geneva. Let's listen to Delphine De Swardt, Associate Editor at Ney, Philippe Massé, President at Prodarom, Hiroyuki Matsuo, Regulatory and Safety Associate Director at Takasago and Chairman of the Fragrance Committee of the Japan Flavor and Fragrance Materials Association, Monica Rossetto, Perfumer, and Bhuvana Nageshwaran, Director Fragrance and Flavor at Ultra International Ltd.
So our last panel discussion really does bridge the past and the present and the future. It's on cultural heritage. And the subject is, how essential is fragrance globally? And we're going to hear how fragrance plays a really important role in cultures and traditions across the world. We're going to hear about its social and economic importance for villages and towns and communities. And we're also going to hear about efforts to preserve cultural heritage for future generations. So please welcome on the stage Hiroyuki Matsuo, who's the chair of the Fragrance Committee of the IFRA National Association in Japan and the Regulatory Safety Associate Director at Takasago. Come and sit next to me, Hiro, please. Thank you. Delphine De Swardt, a perfumer by training, a university researcher and associate editor of Ney, a media house specializing in scent and the sense of smell, and IFRA's global media partner. Please come and take a seat next to Hiro. Philippe Massé, president of Prodarom, the French association representing fragrance manufacturers and chair of the IFRA Europe Regional Committee. Bhuvana Nageshwaran, Director of Fragrance and Flavor at Ultra International, one of the leading fragrance and flavor houses. And Bhuvana is a perfumer by training and also an IFRA board member. And we are, we hope, joined remotely by our voice from Latin America and Monica Rossetto from São Paulo. Hello, Monica. I hope you can hear us. Super to see you. Monica, thank you. Monica has worked as a senior perfumer for Givaudan and Simrise. She's now an independent perfumer and she teaches the art of perfumery. So welcome. Delphine, let me start with the question of the panel, so we've addressed it, which is, how essential is fragrance globally?
Well, if you look all over the world, fragrance is everywhere. Where is human life, there is fragrance. So I think that the answer is very essential. But if you go further, you can think that in all the very powerful tools of humanity, which is myth, stories, you have fragrance. And if you dig into the very old myth, for instance, Gilgamesh, what he seeks is immortality, eternity, and he finds it into an elixir, which is a proto-perfume. And if you hear about the great strategist biographies or the life of great politicians or even religious leaders, you find everywhere perfumes. For instance, pharaohs or the Roman emperors or even the Christ or Muhammad, and back to more
recent
recent
generations.
times, you have the figures of Napoleon, so you have a very strong link between fragrance and a way of connecting to either the invisible world or to other people and create a community.
And great stories, obviously, that go back from the past. What about the last century and this century? Where are the stories that relate culture and fragrance coming from?
Well, for the last century, if you look into the fragrance advertising, for instance, you can picture a fragrance as a mirror of an era. And when you hear about the joy from Patou in 1929, it was created for just after the stock market crash and as a gift for all those deprived women from America who could not afford any longer pretty toiletries from Paris, and as a gift. So it was something about history, about an era. And if you think about the great struggles of the 20th century, for instance, women empowerment, and if you look at Charlie by Revlon, this fragrance and this advertising pictures a woman in trousers going forward to her future, to her destiny, and it's a great encouragement for women. And if you look into the CK1, for instance, the CK1 advertising, connecting people in a very androgynous way, but also as a backlash to the HIV fear of that time. So, and if you look about 1 million, it's a very cartoonish way, humoristic way of depicting our tendency to materialism and consumerism.
So CK1 because it was hygienic and it was a sort of response to HIV.
Yeah, it was a backlash to the ambient fear.
And that's interesting that you also ended on the idea of consumerism, because perhaps today the tendency, as we were hearing on the innovation panel, is really to go back to nature, and the environment is so important.
Yes, of course, this is the issue today, the environmental and the climate change. So you have this way for perfumery to connect to nature, to connect to a beautiful and nurturing nature, and of course with a very important frame given to those ingredients. But you have also sociological trends that are still depicted, and women empowerment is still at stake today. So you have all these different layers coming back from ages that are added from decades to decades, and create a message.
Yeah, the social history is so interesting. And then, of course, we're going forward to this world of digitalization and AI too.
Yes. So today you can depict fragrance as a hook to bring back people into the real life, because fragrance cannot be digitized yet. And so you have an added value by proposing a fragrant experience, for instance, in museum. So it's a way of still getting back to bodies and for real experience and not screen mediate experience.
And indeed, we're going to now take a little bit of a trip around the world to India, Japan and Brazil to find the cultural significance of fragrance and perhaps a story or two. Bhuvana, India, where do you begin? Culture and fragrance, they're totally entwined, aren't they?
Thank you, Claire. For India, it's like fragrance is a way of life, I would say. So we are surrounded with flowers, spices, anything you take, like morning, our morning starts like we are offered to in our temple. We are surrounded with flowers. So it's like a way of life. We have been always surrounded with jasmine, rose, sandalwood oil. So this is something like we have been using day in, day out. It's not like perfuming, but it was way of a life for us. In the cooking, we were using a lot of spices. So everything to do was aroma was surrounded. And to add to that, we had incenses. Incense stick is widely used. Every house you will find it in the morning for the prayers. They are using that. So we are surrounded. When it comes to the perfuming, which we used to buy from the market, that is more for more of a luxury in the olden days. Now it is getting like a daily usage. Now you have started buying it. But the olden days, it was like once in a time you'll go and buy it, and that used to be very precious perfume for you to buy. Otherwise, we are surrounded with flowers. Jasmine, we romanticize. Women in India, they wear it in their hair. They decorate it. All the deities, temples, it's like surrounded with all kind of flowers. Jasmine is very popular there. Rose, every day we offer on our prayers, and any wedding ceremony, whatever, any ceremony, we will be surrounded with fragrances.
Yeah,
So this is
absolutely.
way of
So,
life, I
having
would call
been
it.
to India, it's amazing all of the rituals used with flowers.
Sandalwood oil, we'll use it on day to day. Like if it is summer, people will be applying it on their foreheads. So it is fragrancing. At the same time, it had a lot of well-being, because in Ayurveda, like in India, like all these aromatic plants were used regularly, and so everybody in every home, people knew how to use them. So from the childhood, I think you were exposed to all this aromatic. I remember like when I was a child, like at home, whenever there's a ritual, some ritual is taking place, my mother will give me the sandalwood stick on a stone. I have to grind the paste and give it to her so that she can offer it to the deity.
Yeah.
So from the childhood, you're using all this material, precious material, saffron, you used to add it to the sandalwood paste. These are memories. Like when I joined the perfumery industry, then I realized there is an industry which exists where these kind of materials are being used.
And indeed, of course, we know scent and memory. Hiro, what about in Japan, the cultural significance of fragrance?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. Very honored to be here. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the incense in Japan. Assuming you India also incense, but about in Japan, to give some hints. And I live in Tokyo. The people in Tokyo are very busy for everyday life and work, including me. And but there are some temples in Tokyo, and if you go to the temple, you can smell incense, and not noisy, at least, and it's very calming and relaxed. So it's a good place to me and to everybody in Tokyo. And personally, I use incense usually in the morning, and burn it, and I say prayers to my dead father, usually in the morning. But it's, how to say, kind of relieved. So it's a good thing to me, and slightly different from the enjoying fragrance, but it's good to me.
Yeah, it triggers sense of well-being.
Yeah, I could say so, yes.
And what about, we mentioned, I think it was Delphine said museums. There's fragrance in lots of exhibits, I understand, in Japan.
There are some fragrance museum in Japan, but in Takasago also headquarters located in Tokyo has a museum for Takasago collections, and
I think we might have a picture that will come up, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. But tell us what this is, Hiro. You can see it in front too.
Oh, okay. The photo on the screen is one of the Takasago collections, and this is very traditional and very old tools for how to say
when it's a scent game, isn't it?
Kind of sense game, and I don't have the correct word, but
I know there was a complicated word in Japan which was called
yes.
Jishuko, which was the 10-round incense game. Yes?
Yeah.
So can you explain how it works? You actually bought some sticks.
Brought some incense stick and the plate. Maybe show here. It's small to look in. And I brought 3 types of incense sticks. One is cherry blossom like incense stick. And the second one is sandalwood like incense stick. The third one is agate like incense sticks. And here is I already picked up 1 incense stick out of 3 incense sticks, and you smell it and answer the correct one, because I know the answer. So may I ask someone on the stage to try the game?
You can try the game, yes. I've got a cold, so I'm not going to smell anything. But there we are. We've got a...
I picked up this one.
Right.
So, yeah.
So I love this game where you have to guess the smell of the wood.
And cherry blossom or sandalwood or agate. Oh, the correct answer is cherry blossom. Sorry about that.
There's another 9 rounds to go here. I have no nose at the moment because I have a cold, but afterwards. So tell me, what did Philippe and Delphine think? Cherry blossom, yeah. Did it smell very...
I think we have to light it.
Right. Health and safety. What a shame with health and safety. But I can see that this is a great game. And just tell me, Hiro, it's there in a museum as an exhibit. But can you buy this? Is this living on for future generations?
No, because it's traditional and very old. So it's almost art for now. So we have many collections and free to visit. So if you have an opportunity to visit Tokyo, then please visit if you have any time to visit here.
Yeah, it's great. I can just see a Christmas gift coming on of the fragrance game that needs to be marketed. You wanted to say something, Bhuvana?
Just I wanted to say this. I like the word you said, sandalwood-like, cherry blossom-like. So this is something which we need to learn. Yesterday in the conversation, I was just hearing natural versus synthetic. So this is we as a product development, when we are putting it in the product label, some pictures when we are mentioning it, we just show the sandalwood and consumer thinks it's a natural sandalwood, which has gone. The word sandalwood-like sounds better to me.
Understood. Monica, let's bring you back into the conversation because you've worked in the past for global perfume houses. So I wonder how you go about understanding the different cultures when you're creating a perfume.
I draw my experience of visiting the countries and get to know how people live there. I look to understand how they live, their cuisine, their water quality, habits, income distribution, traditional and beliefs. As a global fragrance is created by an expert team of that include perfumes, evaluator, market, and others. during this visit, I was guided by the local evaluator and teams. Because
So
I think you have to understand the culture of the different country to develop the fragrance for them.
And tell us, once you've understood the different cultures, what's the creative process? How do you take that and then distill it into something that is culturally acceptable?
For example, once I remember I was in Honduras in Central America with 2 colleagues from Mexico to interview user of a certain brand of laundry bar, 400 grams blue bowl with a high perfume dosage. And this region, they don't like to use a powder detergent or liquid detergent or fabric softener. So it was 7 o'clock in the morning when we arrived at the edge of the river, where there are 3 ladies washing clothes on the rocks, accompanied by their young children. And they say they like laundry baths. And we ask why. And the answer is they learned from their mothers that to remove dirt and not ruin clothes, they need to wash them by hand with soap. And ask you, you don't think it's too heavy, 400 grams? A lot of soap. But they said, no, it's perfect because it's good to scrub clothes. About the fragrance, the perfume will remove bad odors and leaves dry clothes clean smell. So the family can see how the work was well done. It was interesting because of the end of this visit, we could understand that we are not talking about soaps or fragrance, but affection, care, and traditional. So, and after that kind of experience with the other team, we can learn, I could learn about my own culture and vice versa. So it's easier to work with them online in the future because we have the language, we share the experience, and then they understand, they try to understand that their culture guided by them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Listening to people, and again, the importance that the soap has a good smell that says that it's work well done. Just tell me, in your culture, is there a particular fragrance that's important culturally in Brazil?
There is something very the original people in Brazil, they were responsible for spreading to the hygiene acts that we are still have in our culture. The Brazilians are the people to take the most bath in the world, and the second country in consumption of bar soap. India, with a population 6.5 times bigger, take the first place. And I think that's why the main aspect in Brazilian perfumery is freshness. And I can say lavender is one of the most favorite notes. We can find this in woman and children fragrance or in Folger Accords, so appreciated by men here in Brazil.
Wonderful. The most baths taken in the world, I think, was what Monica said. So yes, fragrance and freshness is really important there. Philippe, I think most people see Grasse as the sort of world capital of flowers, and UNESCO gave it this world cultural heritage status back 2018. How important has that been for France and the world, would you say?
At first, I would say I thank very much IFRA to ask me to be on the stage now to speak about this, which is a very important subject for us. Of course, Grasse, everybody knows Grasse. It is sure that the first association of perfumers in Grasse was founded in 1724. 1724, why? Because at that time, Grasse was very well known worldwide for tanners. We had around Grasse mostly olive tree, not yet flowers. We started flowers in the 1710 with coming from jasmine, rose, tuberose, but at the first time it was orange flowers. We have to know that orange flowers was the #1 tonnage of flowers up in the Grasse area. In the 1920, 1928, we had more than 1,200 tons of orange flowers treated for water, orange water, more than for essential oil of neroli. Okay? And in fact, we had a big trouble in 1953 with a very climate change, with a very high cold, -15 during more than 3-4 weeks, and which killed all the bitter orange trees in the area. Today, we have approximately 1.5 tons of orange flowers picked up in the Grasse area, compared with the 1,200 tons. Okay, it is the same case with jasmine. In the jasmine, from 1920, we were picked up 800 tons of flowers, 800 tons. Last year, we picked up 15 tons, compared with 800 tons. It is sure that we had, at that time, in the 1900s, many companies transforming the natural raw materials. We had more than 20 companies. Today, we have 7 companies transforming the flowers.
So was this UNESCO World Heritage recognition helpful or not?
It was helpful. In fact, this cultural heritage by UNESCO was created by UNESCO in 2003. And at that time, Jean-Pierre Leleu, who was the mayor of Grasse, he was also a senator. And as a senator, he belonged to the commission of the Senate, the French Senate, taking care of the patrimony close to the Ministry of Culture. And he said, there is a heritage. This immaterial heritage, Grasse is a place where we can think about this recognition. We have to work hard, and we started in 2008 with this idea to make a presentation, a project for presented to UNESCO for this recognition of the Pays de Grasse, means not only Grasse, but at the same time, it was absolutely necessary for us, and I was in charge of this with Jean-Pierre Leleu, to contact all our colleagues all around the world, especially in all the producers of raw materials, natural raw materials, producers in India, producers in Egypt. And Hussein was one of the #1 to support this action with UNESCO. And in fact, we had to work during 10 years before presenting this project to UNESCO, because each country in Europe or in the world, they have one possibility to propose one project every 2 years. One project every 2 years. And as of today, in France, we have more than 30 projects. We are on the waiting list, 30 projects. And I think that I spoke with Jean-Pierre Leleu a few days ago. He told me, you see, if we had to start this today, we will never succeed to get this presentation to UNESCO, because it's more and more complicated, more and more complicated.
So what difference do you think it has made to preserving cultural heritage that you now have this status from UNESCO?
We had some very, very positive consequences for the Grasse area. At first, we had to think about the production of natural products, because Grasse was very well known for natural products. as you know, grass in the the beginning of the 19th century, grass was really the place where all the natural raw materials coming from all around the world were treated and transformed. And most of the companies buying natural raw materials for perfumery were asking the logo of made in grass for this, you see. We have to know that in the 1760, when these companies were founded, like Gilles and Michael said today, Chiris was founded in 1764, you see, 1764. And at that time, grass was so well known. Chiris, during this period of the years, they were the #1 company in the world, you see. IFF did not exist.
So it's maintained that status, has it?
It's
kept that prestige that there was before.
Absolutely. Of course, we had, I would say, difficult timing in the grass area in the 1960, 1970. Not so easy, and less and less producers, you see. We had in the early 1900, we had more than 1,500 growers, you see. Today we have only 56 growers.
And so what I'm wondering what your organization is doing to try and defend those growers and make sure that that cultural heritage is there for future generations.
So at first to have a very strong help from the Mayor of Grasse. The Mayor of Grasse had 2 actions. One action is to save a lot of fields in this area, to keep them only for growers. And this was a difficult, I will say, decision from the mayor, because most of the owner of the fields were not happy with that, you see. But he did it. The second thing, he wanted also to get the help of all the cities in Europe who have the same industry around the cities. We had more than 55 cities belonging to the target of Jérôme Viau of Grasse to create this association of mayors. I speak about Messina in Sicilia, Reggio de Calabre. I speak about, of course, Sevilla, Murcia. I speak about 2 cities in Germany, 1 city in Austria, 2 cities in Romania, Cluj, and of course Bulgaria with Kazanlak, who is already a twin city.
Because of the social and economic importance to those cities.
Absolutely. It was very, very strongly, I would say, mentioned to the European Commission. This, all this discussion regarding CLP had some possible, very, very bad consequences down
just even the announcement of it makes people scared.
And when we told the commissioner, Mr. Breton, that we had more than 15,000 people working for the lavender, lavandine, clary sage. We have thousands of people working in Bulgaria on this production, and any difficulties we could have to use these natural raw materials will have a very bad impact on socio-economic situation.
Yeah. Bhuvana, in India, what are their initiatives? We've heard in France, UNESCO, Philippe, the Prodarom, which is advocating. What about in India? What efforts are there to preserve cultural heritage for today and for tomorrow?
So in India, we have this government initiative which is taking place now under the name of Aroma Mission, who was there in the previous session also, you saw that. So they are doing like, this is a government initiative. They want like farmers should have a alternate income, and this through the aroma crop, they can earn a lot of livelihood is improved. So that is an initiative from the government. From the industry side, we need to do a lot. We are using those materials, but a lot of recording which needs to be done, and for which the work has to start now. So there are a lot of things which you need to do, and we, as a initiative with IFRA and our foundation, Sanganeria Foundation, with that, we are trying to work with some of the universities and all, so that they can go back and do all the studies where what is being grown, what are the gap arrangement, what needs to be done. So all this, I think now that we have this technology, so we could use this well for recording a lot of things. We have lost in India, like if you see that the history is very old, but we may not find it's all scattered all around the place in bits and pieces. We have to put it together so that the storytelling which we need to learn, I think, Delphine, you will help us in that. We are not that good in storytelling, which we need to start doing that.
But there's so many stories, and the traditional knowledge
Yeah.
and the traditional practices, they need, as you say, to be documented so that they're not lost.
Because the new generation, because I might be the last generation who have seen those materials being used, but they don't value it, what we are doing it, how this is being used. So these are the things, like I said, it's a day-to-day life for you. You are every day that flowers are coming, you just take it for granted. It doesn't come just like that. Somebody is putting a lot of efforts in growing that. So all those stories need to come up so that they can value that. Because if jasmine is such an expensive, but in your home, you will find it hanging in your door.
And this needs to be almost taught in schools. I mean,
Schools.
are there initiatives to teach the cultural heritage as well as the traditional practices, the sustainable practices?
I strongly believe, like all the skills that we have, this needs to be taught from the childhood in the school days. School, currently the syllabus, what we're covering, only you're learning languages or the science, these are the only things you're learning in the school. But I think the skill set that we have, so those needs to be also started with very young in the age. So every region has something very unique. So those needs to be taught to the children so that you can bring back those. And that gives you value addition. A lot of things will happen, all positive growth. Only education, only on those subjects should not be. I strongly believe people should, from the childhood, they should know what is the value of growing something. Because today the food that you are getting, if tomorrow there's no farmers, how are we going to get food in our plate? So these kind of things, I think we need to start at a very young age. We have to start teaching it. And the initiative that I would strongly believe is from the school we have to start and work with the students, tell them what is needed. And I think they will guide us what needs to be done in the future.
Hiro, I'm just wondering, is there that sort of initiative? What initiatives are there in Japan? And is there initiative that school isn't just about science and maths, but that it would also be about the cultural heritage of fragrance?
It's kind of a very difficult question, and maybe I have no answer for that clearly. But the industry try to explain about the fragrance, and but not so many opportunity. But try to teach teacher first, and very safely used, and the teacher explain the people in the school, and so
absolutely getting the message
trying,
across.
yes.
Yeah. And you were saying there's this whole culture of museums in Japan anyway, which is something that could be promoted for school children. Philippe, what about training the next generation to be able to use these traditional practices?
This is very important, and I see that being recognized by UNESCO is pushing us to do even better and more. You see, to get this recognition from UNESCO is very difficult. We have to carry out inventory of all the intangible cultural heritage. We have to encourage the preservation, safeguarding of all this know-how, and we have to educate. We started education already many years ago, but we have to improve this. And I am very happy because we have already, as far as ASFO is concerned, because ASFO was created in 1972 by Prodarom, and this ASFO is in charge of education. Education and professional education to all the salary people working in our industry, but also to young people and for all around the world. Last year, we had 2,200 people coming to Grasse for getting an education regarding perfumery. We signed a convention with the Ministry of Health of Uttar Pradesh in India, because Kanauj in Uttar Pradesh is the cradle of perfumery in India, and this city is also twin city with Grasse, you see. We signed a contract with a convention with the University of Women in Seoul. In Seoul, in Korea, you see the women's university called Ewa University is a huge university. It is the largest one in Seoul, and we have a convention between them and us. They are sending young people for getting trained in Grasse, and we are sending also our teachers in Korea every year. We have a school in Shanghai also. We are going to open a school in Colombia. Why Colombia? Because Colombia is very, very interested with this also. So this is very key for us to improve and to educate as much as we can people in order to keep this recognition by UNESCO. Because every 5 years we are controlled by UNESCO, and they are controlling everything regarding if we do the right way to improve this safeguarding of all these aspects of this.
Absolutely. So to keep the recognition, you have to obviously keep moving forward with education.
Absolutely.
Delphine, I'm just wondering, what role do you think there is for publications like Ney or the media generally to educate the consumer about cultural heritage? But yesterday, when we were having the discussion on public perceptions, there was a broader role for educating the consumer in what the latest developments are in the industry.
Well, I think that there is a crave for general behind the scenes creation and all. The general public wants access, and they want no more secrets. And it's, as you know, the fragrance industry was based on the secret. So it was the business model. But fortunately, it is changing. And so you have now an oxymoron in this industry between the tradition for secret and the crave for transparency. So it's a very interesting tension that is ongoing and that we are here to discuss, actually. This is what is at stake. So it's to unveil creation and to unveil the secret, and without spoiling the magic and the mystery of creation. And it's the delicate balance that we have to go all together, and it's a question of being all together, upstreams and downstream, all along this value chain for giving access and transparency. And it's a general movement. And of course, Ney and other publication and also all the individuals that can have access to blogs and to Tribune are a way to unveil all these elements.
Yes, indeed. I think the word on the cusp was used a lot in the first panel on megatrends, at a turning point, and it's a balancing act, as you say, between cultural heritage. We've seen the past, we've seen how important it is to preserve that and to preserve that for future generations. And on the other hand, there's also the transparency. Let me move to the audience and to see whether there are some questions for our speakers, and also whether remotely there are any questions. Lei, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I got one online. Are there some traditional jobs related to the heritage of the fragrance industry which are at risk to disappear? And if so, how can they be preserved?
Perhaps that's one for you, Philippe, about whether there are some traditional jobs related to the fragrance industry that are at risk of disappearing.
It is sure that UNESCO is asking us, it is one of the key action we have to be very careful to safeguard this, to promote this heritage to as many people as we can, to encourage the recognition of the profession of perfumer as an artistic profession. This is really also asked by UNESCO, and to promote the festivals, the rituals, the social practices all around the world regarding this filière. This is very important for us, and this is why you see, I'm very happy. I had a chance to live in Japan many years, and in Japan, you have these rituals, these festivals, almost every weekend. You have a festival in different cities. You see, it's always different, but it is absolutely incredible. We try to keep in Grasse 2 festivals regarding the Jasmine Festival, the Rose Festival, but this is not enough. You see, this is not enough. And I know that in many countries you have a loss of this, which is a shame. We have to encourage this. It is sure that in Bulgaria, they have also a big festival, and they are very careful about keeping this. It is very key for them, very key for them. So it is not only in Europe, it is all around the world. I'm sure in Brazil, of course, they have a lot of festival, okay? Not really 100% for perfume, etc., but it is also very much related, you see. So it is one of our priority.
And Hiro, there are a lot of festivals, yes, fragrance festivals in Japan or Kyoto. We think of cherry blossom. Yeah.
Yes, and if you go to Kyoto, you smell incense on the road, just outside, and a lot of temples. So it's very historical.
I've done Grasse. Next one is Kyoto. But just to come back to you, Philippe, the question you're doing a lot to promote these festivals and the traditional practices, but have any of those been lost?
Not yet lost.
Not yet.
But I will say one of our target also is to have the full help of all the population, you see. It is sure that in Grasse it's a special area because, as you know, we had so many companies located in Grasse. This is why our association is located in Grasse. This is because we have most of our members located in the Grasse area.
Understood. Lei, was there any other question coming in online? No.
No.
Somebody in the audience, yes.
Claire, I just wanted to add from Claire.
Sorry,
wanted to add
Bhuvana,
to
and
that.
then I'll come to you.
In India, we have lost this sandalwood oil battle, which we have lost, which we need to revive it again. And I have very good hope, like with the government, current government, this needs to be brought back. If sandalwood oil comes back, the other industry will also revive. The other industry, traditionally, when we used to distill it, all the flowers were distilled on sandalwood oil. Today, it has changed because the sandalwood oil, due to the government policies, we lost it. I think now they are correcting the policies. If that is corrected, this industry will revive, and consumers has a lot of belief in this other, which is there's a great demand for this, and there's a great history behind it. So this is something we need to revive. I think we all have to put together the sandalwood oil comes back to India, not importing from Australia. It should be produced, supplied, and exported from India. This is a big hope I'm carrying with me.
The power of advocacy there in getting that back.
Oh, I was about to say on this. No, Itar is what is commonly being manufactured and sold in India. Not only in India, you go to the Middle East, there are very much high-end shops which are beautiful packaging they do, and it's like, it's like a perfume bottle of a high brand. So in India, it relates to the Mughal period. It has been said that Mughals got Itr to India. So, I mean, how it is different than the usual perfume? That one doesn't, because if you ask from a Itr manufacturer or a seller, they will say that they are the purest form of the perfumes. That's it. So I just want to know the difference between the two.
The difference between?
Itr.
Right, there we are. Please, explain.
So the ether industry, like traditionally when the Mughal period, when we are talking about, like rose petals on a sandalwood oil, they will distill in that distillation unit which you have in the copper mud. They make it with the mud clay oven, and they just, I don't know the exact term and all, bhapka they call it. So that is the traditional way they used to distill that, and those are the purest form of ether. Lately, as time passed, it was very expensive, and then it started, you wanted to make it cheaper. And initially, still they had the rose petals, but the solvent, they started changing it to the solvent. The moment the sandalwood oil became expensive, it was not available, people started using the solvent, replacing sandalwood oil with solvents. Then it started losing its value, because these flower, the aromas which you want to distill it in sandalwood oil, you can hold the fragrance, but if it is a solvent, the holding of the fragrance doesn't happen. And later all the chemicals started adding it. Now whatever you get it all depends upon the price that you pay for the ether. If you are paying very small amount, then you can very well imagine there will be no natural in it. And perfume has also, because the trade was already there and market was diminishing, so people started using the synthetic version. But even today, there are people who are making the natural version. Then you have to ready to pay the price of that, because you have to imagine the sandalwood oil price, what is the price of that? On top of it, they will add the rose or jasmine, whatever it is. So the value will be very high. So there is a market exit. That's why it went to the Middle East, because there the people are ready to pay the price for that.
Understood. Hussein.
I think this conversation was fascinating, and it's fascinating. It comes at the end of our 2 days, and we should detect in what has been said over here, what we've been trying to talk over 2 days. I'd like to thank Philippe for citing me. Grace approached me back then when Grace was considering putting down its dossier with UNESCO. What is UNESCO recognizing over here? It is recognizing immateriality. It is le patrimoine immatériel. It is not the pyramids that we're talking about. It is what is immaterial. And I have nothing to do with that directly. I'm in my village there in Egypt, and it's not about my blossoms, as it is not about the blossoms in Grasse. It is about the art in question, and how that art is linking all these networks around the world, and how it's become such an important place in Grasse, a center. So what is it that we're saying? What is it that we're recognizing over here? We're recognizing specifically our humanity. So what is the most superfluous aspect of our conscience is actually the most essential of what makes us human. So at the time when we're speaking about essentiality, this is what is at stake over here. And the discussion here, what is Philippe trying to do? Philippe and everyone behind him in Grasse, they're trying to get to where Bhuvana is standing, because she is still, with everything that is behind her, she is still living that. in terms of a reality. She doesn't need yet UNESCO to get involved because it's part of life. It's part of waking up in the morning, burning incense. Driving in India, when I did that, people were, when you were going on a dangerous road, the driver would stop, buy flowers from a little chap on the side there, and in a little bowl would put the flowers on the side of the road as a blessing for the road to take so that you wouldn't, go off the road and so on. It would be done automatically. And Grace is basically
intangible cultural
exactly is trying to
heritage.
Reinstate that, get it to be birth. So it's the discussion about how all of this is helping us connect to that little ball we're living on through these very odd, we're the only species that basically are able to create this kind of link. No other species. For all the others, it's evident. They just go about their life and so on. But this is very particular to us. So you've understood, Claire, that I have a bit of a skew towards natural as opposed to the other one. I understand that Martina here is.
I understand your philosophy. I think your philosophy is lovely, and thank you for connecting the dots.
This is what it's about when we are trying to defend, naturals. There is so much more behind it in terms of our very identity. I spoke too much. Sorry. Thank you.
But I just wanted to add that this recognition, it's of course related to naturals, but also to chemicals. Because, as you know, until the 1800s, we had only natural raw materials to be used by perfumers. We started to get chemicals because we found the coumarin in the fève tonka, then we the vanillin in the vanilla, and then we started create chemicals for the industry. And this is absolutely key for us, for the modern perfumery. The modern perfumery started with Houbigant, started with Jicky of Guerlain, and the Chanel No. 5 will not exist as it is today if there was not very important chemicals, used by Ernest Beau. So it is key. We have today more than 4,000 raw materials that could be used by perfumers. Of course, due to the sourcing, due to the availability of all these materials, I presume that most of the companies reduce this number from 4,200 to 1,200, 1,500 to be able to keep the possibility of sourcing all these raw materials. But we have among these 4,200 raw materials, 950 naturals. All the rest is chemicals.
Naturals and chemicals. I'm going to stop you there just because there's 20 minutes for coffee. And I think that it's time for coffee.
So we have a natural coffee.
Natural coffee,
yes.
Not made of synthetics.
Yes, okay.
I had no idea, but thank you everybody for this trip around the world on the importance of cultural heritage, this intangible cultural heritage that it's so important to preserve for today and for the future. Thank you, Monica, for joining us from Brazil and everybody here.
Discover more stories and content on podcast.bynet.com and on the main podcast platforms.